La da 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 dum bum bum ba da da. I am early. Let's do this freaking podcast. Let's do it. Let's do it right. You will see. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. So much to get into. Not that much to get into. So much going on, but I have TP USA Live, so we're going to watch a little bit of that before we get into some of the show, just to catch. This is live in the flesh.
Welcome to the Derek O'Shea.
That was not very smooth of me. Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. If you want to support me, go to buymeacoffee.com/Derek O'Shea Show. Link is in the description below. I am live streaming TPUSA live right now. I didn't even know what was going on. It shows you how much in the know I am with all things that are TPUSA. But we're going to watch a little bit of this. Hang out. It's Friday. Relax. I had some videos, but there's a little bit in the news. There's not too much in the news. So hopefully we'll get some laughs out of this. Hopefully it's not too cringy. But how are you doing?
I'm so tired of Hunter Biden laptop stories. I am so sick. I have little kids. I do the news for a living. I want to say thank you if you tune in on Facebook, YouTube, Newsmax, Turning Point. I just want to say thank you. I do the news for a living. You ever open up your phone in the morning and you see a piece of Hunter Biden news breaking? You're like, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see the new video. I've seen way too much Hunter Biden crack. I've seen too much Hunter Biden crack. You know, Joe Biden passed the strictest crack laws in American history. Did you know this? Joe Biden was up on the floor of the Senate. He's bragging about his
get in the chat. Tell me how
mandatory
you're doing.
minimums.
Here we go.
In jail for crack.
Giovanni, what's up? I hope you don't mind. I got TPUSA in the background.
We'll
see how it goes.
Young,
I do have some things lined up as well, just in case it gets super boring. But I know Papa DeSantis is coming on.
And if you can never get my respect. But if
you're
want
new, make sure to subscribe, drop a like on the like button, all that
by
crap.
Putting Hunter Biden in jail the same way you did for thousands of young men. Joe, put your own damn kid in jail.
I think talking about Hunter Biden and his addiction is such a lost cause. Stick to the corruption part.
Jail.
How about that?
Lock him up. Hunter Biden's there with the little gun. Okay?
Thank you.
Now, I live in a great state, loves the Second Amendment. I finally get guns. It's amazing. But y'all ever done one of those federal background checks? It's always like, hey, you on drugs? You doing all these drugs? There's photos of Hunter Biden with all these guns. He clearly lied on his official NICS form
also
to the ATF
cause.
And the FBI.
I think you should be able to buy guns even if you do use drugs. But again, I'm more libertarian minded when it comes to guns, so that's that.
Joe Biden sits there and moans and complains about gun criminals. Yo, he just went on vacation with Hunter Biden, put him in jail. I won't respect you unless you do it to your own kid. That's what a real man would do. A real father would discipline his son. If he remembers his name. Oh, my. I love the Midwest. I love all of you. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Iowa. We're our neighbors.
Am I the only one that doesn't? Oh, good.
I love the state of
So far, this is pretty cringy.
Corn and pigs. That's about it. Corn and pigs. I went to the University of Iowa. I know. There's probably some Buckeyes here, right? Okay.
Yeah. Things going well, man. Things are going well. Just hanging out, chilling. I hope these live streams. Do you enjoy the live streams more than the video clips that I make?
In Iowa,
Not the video clips from my live stream that I've been doing lately because I don't have that much time, but I can't tell. I really like going live and hanging out.
I love you all, though. The farther you get away from the Midwest, the more you realize that the Midwest has got it going on, man. We got the values. We got the faith. We got the family. We got the things that make life worth living. So
far, this is so obvious.
Hunter Biden, his laptops. I mean, come on. Do I need to say more?
I enjoy the whole kit and the caboodle. I appreciate that.
Pay my college tuition. And working on a pig farm actually prepared me very much for a life in politics.
LOL.
Covering woke. Covering the woke. The woke are very much like swine, in a way. They're smelly. They are onerous. They're extremely noisy. You can't control them. And everything they touch turns to poop. Turns to poop. Charlie Kirk told me don't swear. Called me up and said, you're not allowed to swear. You're in the Midwest, Benny. No, I won't.
This is so dorky. I almost can't take it.
Turns to
shit.
He's that at.
There was a big pig on our farm named Big Bertha. Big Bertha was a huge sow, 300 pounds. When Big Bertha was sitting there, you sometimes have to separate Big Bertha from her piglet.
Giovanni, do you watch Benny Hill ever? I've never watched this guy.
And so you separate her. And one day, I was there holding her back, and Big Bertha, any farmers in the audience? Farmers? Big Bertha, you know this. Pig farmer? You have pigs? Cows, that's fine. Dude, these pigs are strong, man. Big Bertha takes her nose, puts it under the fence, and flips it. You ever seen this happen? You seen the strength of a pig? They're insane. Flips me with the fence on it, right? Throws me. I'm like, yo, pig.
Yo, pig.
Big Bertha.
Yo, Bertha,
You're biting the hand that feeds you. Here, all right? You're biting the hand that feeds you. And that's when I realized that Big Bertha...
All right, let's take a break from this. I need a break from it because it's just like so cringy. Speaking of cringe, I don't know... I don't know if you saw this. This was trending as of lately. This thanks Biden. The left cannot meme. They're just like... They try to make Biden seem like such a badass, and it's just a no for me. It's the first time for you? Okay, good. Dark Brandon. Thanks, Brandon. Look at this guy. Cool 75 degrees, normally 100 in Houston summer due to a rainy day. Taking advantage of a cool rainy day to gas up of our cars. Oh, look, $3.19 a gallon on Exxon just down the street. Thanks, Biden. Biden didn't bring the rain, but I'm very happy to see it. Imagine celebrating paying $3.19 for gas. God, I know they're like right now the left is like trying to make Biden look amazing because the gas prices have gone down. No one is forgetting also the freaking fact that we've been depleting our reserves constantly. No problem there whatsoever. But yeah, you know, Biden is incredible. And then also I saw this story being passed around. Oh, we'll save that for later. I saw this story being passed around too as well. Bill Gates made Manchin change his mind to support Biden-Schumer deal. So it's Bill Gates' fault. Microsoft founder Bill Gates recently revealed that he was influential in getting Senator Joe Manchin to support Democrats' massive spending bill. The billionaire had personally lobbied the senator for several months in support of the progressive climate and energy legislation. It passed later this month or whatever. Bill Gates personally lobbied with Manchin. Of course he did. It's just, you know, I thought your thing was Microsoft. Stick to that, Microsoft, and taking up all the forums. Leftists are in full damage control, and it's hilarious. It is hilarious, but it's also kind of fearful because the left is acting like a hurt animal, and they're gonna. I feel like this midterm is gonna be nuts. I mean, like we're seeing right now. You see right now is Andrew Tate is banned. I don't know if you know too much about Andrew Tate, but he's like a big alpha male kind of guy who's like a life coach sort of thing, and he's about becoming more manly. It's like he's like the anti-woke. He's like the extreme of the woke. He takes it to the other side. A spokesman for Meta, which owns Instagram, it's going to be very dangerous. Yeah, it probably will be. which owns Instagram and Facebook, has confirmed that NBC News on Friday that the company removed Tate's official account from the social media platforms for violating company's policies on dangerous organizations and individuals. Of course, they label him as that just because he's promoting strong men. Oh, this is disgusting. Get him off. He's so dangerous. I mean, a majority of the people I know that even know who this figure is are 13-year-old boys. So it's not like he's like going to ban an army of youth. Before the Tate ban, he had 4.7 million followers on Instagram. Tate, this guy is one of the guys that he's just kind of funny because he purposely tries to be over the top. So, I mean, it's kind of like an Alex Jones kind of thing where and he's been on with Alex Jones a bunch of times. I like this from BuzzFeed. Misogynistic influencer Andrew Tate is banned from Instagram and Facebook. This is kind of decisive action needed to tackle the online radicalization of young men towards a violently misogynistic worldview. Get him off. It's so violent. It's so misogynistic, and it needs to end now. I mean, look at this guy. He's got glasses on like he's drunk while he's podcasting, and he's got his shirt open. Oh, it's so hot. He's been removed for in accordance with Facebook policy, dangerous individuals. Is he dangerous? He's dangerous if you're on the left and you're freaking out about somebody having decent arguments to take down your ideology. That's why he's dangerous. Do I agree with all of he says? No. Do I like some of the stuff he says? Yes, I like it because it makes people angry and it makes people think. Because for far too long, people on the left are so comfortable in their ideology that they haven't been challenged by any strong individuals. So it's good to see that people are speaking up. They're going crazy with the canceling. They are going crazy with the canceling. Andrew Tate, Steven Crowder, and Libs of TikTok now. 35-year-old president is described as dangerous in a viral Instagram post last week by queer content creator Matt Bernstein. You know, it's just like, he's dangerous. How? Because he uses words, and that's too much for people to handle. Tate's notoriety surged over the past couple of months. Andrew Tate has this system where he pays people to repost his content, which is genius, and they're just going nuts with it. But let's go back to TPSC, see if it gets any better, and I'll come back with some more stuff.
They got life all wrong. The Midwest taught me everything that I need to know. The Midwest is the best part of the country, and quite frankly, we're the new hotness, because the Midwest is what the whole rest of the Republican Party is realizing is the type of conservatism that wins, all right? Because we got things figured out here. First off, when it comes to COVID, how many people had a grandmother that would let you live?
Dangerous for this democracy, exactly. Don't you love how Democrats constantly use the word democracy? And then I just say, it's a republic, and they're like,
Oh my God.
How many of y'all got a truck? They're trying to ban trucks. How are you supposed to haul a ton of feed without a truck? It doesn't run on unicorn farts. You need fossil fuels. Oh, by the way, I hate to break it to all you little electric vehicle drivers, but those are coal-powered cars, you idiots. Those aren't electric. What do you think the electricity?
They're coal for now.
It's a fossil fuel. We understand common sense in the Midwest. Do we have any gun owners in the audience?
I threw mine in the sea.
Yo, how about this? I got a special deal I'll make for you.
What are you guys doing this weekend? Anything fun?
Guns.
As always, I'm live on Rumble, TikTok.
I will consider
Rumble,
giving up my guns
Facebook,
the day
Twitter,
that Nancy Pelosi
Twitch.
and AOC swear off their armed security that they have protecting them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with unlimited ammo, with guns that I couldn't even buy on the open market. No. No. No, no.
No.
We realize that family is a gift from God above, and it is the most important thing, and we shall not sacrifice our children on the altar of wokeness with these freak teachers. You ever seen these green hair teachers? Luckily, they paint their hair green. That happens in nature. God created that. It's If you see a neon-colored animal in the Amazon, don't touch it. It's poisonous. And these teachers are too.
This guy's popular.
It's an important gift that we have ever been given in life, and we will protect them here in the Midwest.
Have you seen these green-haired teachers? They're disgusting, okay? They're disgusting. Do we need to even say anything more? Okay.
Boys are boys, and we know the girls are girls.
This guy's not moving back, I know.
There are two genders, and if a boy
Triggered.
walks into the girls' locker room in the Midwest, gonna get his ass kicked. But not
Like in Chicago? I doubt
girls.
it.
The girls of the Midwest can fight. And we know this ultimately and foremost is that life is not a mistake. God did not make us with the wrong skin color. God did not make us with the wrong gender. God did not put us here in the wrong time. Our lives and every life that has ever existed is not a mistake. All lives matter. All life is precious. All lives are valuable. And I just want to thank
Wait, did I just cut him off? They're just like, get off the stage. I just want to thank.
About this
Oh, look at that hair right there. Oh, the balding with the ponytail. I'm a big fan of that.
country, ladies and gentlemen, it's the country for the people who take second chances. It's the country for people who get back on the horse. That's what I love about my own family. That's what I love about the state of Ohio. And that's what I love about our shared nation, the United States of America. The people who are caught between the corrupt political class of the left and the right, they need a voice. They need a representative. And that's going to be me.
Oh, I feel like I'm going to get banned from music or something. So I got to turn it down until he comes back. Oh. Here we go. I have so many clips. All right. This is historic times we're living. It feels like it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Unbelievable. Youngstown, thank you so much for having us. It is such a great time. Thank you for being patriotic enough to care about this country enough to come out and fight for it. God bless you guys. We're going to have fun tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I've heard. Okay.
Whoa, is somebody,
We'll talk about that afterwards, sir.
Is somebody like...
I think he maybe thought I was Ron DeSantis. Ron doesn't have a beard. I just met him. We don't look alike. Well, first of all, let me just say that, we are in, of course, Tim Ryan's congressional district. You guys like Tim Ryan? Wait a second. I thought that he was the fighter for the American working man. Well, that's what he says in his TV commercials. Who could believe that politicians lie in their TV commercials? Guess that happens. Well, let me tell you just a bit about myself.
Every day.
It's so great to be here with you all, and I won't take up too much time because I know we want to hear from Governor Ron DeSantis, great patriot. We're glad to have him in Ohio. Let's give him a round of applause. But I grew up in a town not too different from Youngstown. I know we're not quite in Youngstown, but we're close enough. And what happened in my hometown, Middletown, Ohio, is that our leadership, and I hate to say it, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm a Republican, but it wasn't just the Democrats, it was Democrats and Republicans decided we didn't need to make things in this country anymore. And so what do? They shipped our manufacturing off to China. They shipped our industry off to countries that didn't like us. And what happened is that families like mine struggled in the process. I was raised by my mama and papa, by my grandparents, who came to Ohio from southeastern Kentucky, coal country, and believed that this country, if you worked hard and played by the rules, you could achieve the American dream. And that is the values that they raised me with. Now, I was lucky to have them because so much of the drug problem that's coming into this country, thanks to Joe Biden's wide open southern border, it was starting to take root well before because of problems, again, issues that have been caused by a bipartisan set of failed leadership. And so my grandparents had to take care of me. And I remember, thinking how lucky I was to have this incredible mamaw, this woman who took great care of me, but she was a little non-conventional. She was not always traditional. I remember when I was 18, I told her, I said, Mamaw, I think I want to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. And this is right after we invaded Iraq. Hoorah, Semper Fi. Got some Marines out there. And Mamaw loved the Marines, and she loved her country, but she didn't want her grandson to enlist in the Marines, given that we had just went to war in Iraq. And so I remember I said, well, I'll have the recruiter come over and introduce himself to you. And so the recruiter came over, and he put one foot on the steps, and she said, if you take 1 foot and put it in my house, I will blow it off. And she meant it. Mamaw was a fan of the Second Amendment before it was cool. She had 19 handguns when she died. I'm not kidding.
19 handguns. What are you doing with 19?
But I did enlist in the Marine Corps, and I built a life. I built a business in southwestern Ohio. I've got 3 beautiful young.
Feels like we have been in a controlled demolition of our family structure and economy. It's the whole Marxist system is predicated upon destroying the family structure systems so that you rely on the state and stop relying on each other.
Young kids and a beautiful wife in this country.
I wish I was making that up.
Good to me, ladies and gentlemen. This state has been great to me. And this election in 2022 is about this fundamental question. Will we continue to be a state that provides opportunities for patriotic Americans, or will we continue to go down the path of Joe Biden and Tim Ryan, of failure, of loss of opportunity, and of loss of what makes this country great? That's the question. And what is our answer? Are we going to go down the bad path, or are we going to go down the good path? There we go. Now, there we go. I want to have a beer with this guy afterwards.
No, you don't. He'll probably kill you.
I want to just say that what I love so much about growing up in Middletown, and what I love about Youngstown, I've gotten to know it very well. I've gotten to know Muskingum. I've gotten to know the Mahoning River Valley. I've gotten to know, of course, where we are in Trumbull County, and it's been wonderful, and it's been great. I love this place. What I will say is the grit and the hard work defines you guys, defines us as a people, and defines the state of Ohio. That is what's great about this place. But I look at all the ways in which our politicians are failing us. And the reason I ran for Senate is the simple reason I realized that there was a game these guys were playing, and none of us were in on it. And here's the basic way it works. They rob this country blind with the one hand, and they tell you to shut up with the other hand. Don't dare complain about what we're doing. Do not dare criticize your own government and your own leadership. We'll call you a bad person. Maybe we'll even get you fired from your job. That is the game they play. And there's nowhere, ladies and gentlemen, where they play that game more than this terrible crisis at the U.S. southern border. Now, my family's been affected by the opioid problem. I imagine a lot of families have been affected by it. And we know that the reason why we have a record number of people dying from this terrible poison is because Joe Biden and Tim Ryan have turned the southern border into the world's capital of drug trafficking. They did this, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, boo, absolutely boo. They did this, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not just that they did it. It was a bad decision. It was not a good idea, but it's the way they respond to those of us who dare to complain about it afterwards. Because I've seen today, I talked to a great public servant in the state of Ohio who told me that he was hanging out this weekend with a couple of kids who had their mom orphaned. They had become orphaned. Their mom had died from this terrible poison that's coming into our communities. And what Joe Biden and Tim Ryan, they talk about compassion and they talk about standing for working people. But what Tim Ryan has never done is lifted a finger to stop Joe Biden's terrible assault on our southern border.
To be fair, the border crisis has been going on for a long time, and the Mexican cartel is basically a terrorist organization. And for so long, politicians have pretended like they aren't a factor or they don't control the border more than our own agents control the border. This is a huge problem, and it's at a tipping point right now due to the Biden administration, but it's been going on for a long time. And it's sad how much they do not care about you and your family, of what's going on, your jobs, housing, especially just the drug epidemic and the amount of people that are using on the open air, using on the streets and stuff like that. This has been going on for a long time, and it is so sad how these politicians play political games about it, make it to be a right-wing talking point. It's not a right-wing talking point. It's just the truth. And we need to address it and stop pretending it's not a huge problem. But again, we'll just play politics the rest of our lives with these people, and they will continue to lie to you until you call them out. Hold these people accountable. Yes, libertarians, Republicans, Democrats have all played this game with the southern border. It's a joke when they try to just point the finger at the other. This is a time, this midterm election, if the Republicans win, if they get in there and do nothing again, I do not know where this country is going after that. They have to go in with armed to the teeth to take over and control what's going on, especially at our border. There is human devastation that happens daily at our border, and places like New York and DC just happen to have little moments of a couple thousand people, and they're like, oh my God, we're freaking out. We can't handle this kind of influx. Yet it happens daily at our border. And then our politicians continue to play games. Even Republicans blame Biden administration when the Republican actually Governor Abbott finally got his act together and started doing things. So this needs to be addressed because we cannot continue just to do this and play these fun games while people continue to die and our cities get overcrowded and low-wage workers continue to come into our markets and make jobs worse for the average daily American, especially Americans that do not have degrees and stuff like that. It's a problem, but I digress. These people would be forced to do something yeah.
What
exactly.
he doesn't care. That's exactly right. What Tim Ryan has never done is offer an ounce of sympathy for the grandparents who are raising a generation of kids orphaned by this problem. I know there are a lot of grandparents, I bet, out there right now who are helping raise their grandkids because of this problem. He's never offered a single piece of legislation to fix that border so we're not orphaning these kids in the first place. And when I criticized the terrible policies of the Biden administration, he had the audacity to go on social media and say that I was a racist for daring to think that we should get control of our southern border. Ladies and gentlemen, boo, that's exactly right. This has nothing to do with hating anybody south of the border. We want a secure border because we love the people north of the border. We love the children in our own communities, and it's time to start fighting for them. And I think about so many of the problems that affect this state and that affect our country. And I just step back and say to myself, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have to do this. We do not have to live like this. I was talking with a friend a few weeks ago, and he was telling me that at his house in broad daylight, caught on a camera, a criminal walked into his garage and stole his bicycle. Now, I'm not a big biker, so I was not heartbroken about the bicycle, but I was heartbroken about the fact that when he called the police, you know what the police said? The great police in Columbus, Ohio. We got great police all over this state. We got some really good ones in Columbus, Ohio, too. They said we are so understaffed that we cannot enforce petty crime. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not have to live like this. We do not have to destroy our police force so that they can't even enforce and investigate the crimes that make our communities less safe. We don't have to do that. Now,
what an idiot liar. Who you talking about, Jill? What are you talking about? What is he lying about? Gotta get more context.
Allow the poison and the sex trafficking that's flowing into our state thanks to Tim Ryan's open border to continue to do so. We can shut that border, we can build the wall, and we can make it so that our people in Youngstown to Cincinnati are safe and secure in their own country. Now, Tim Ryan stands in his TV commercials, and they're very well produced and they're very slick. And what does he say?
Are you talking about J.D. Vance? That guy.
He says that he stands for the police. He stands for law enforcement. Well, I'm proud, ladies and gentlemen, to be endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police in this state. And why do they endorse me? Because Tim Ryan stabbed them in the back. I'd like Tim Ryan to talk to some of the police officers that I speak to. Third-generation men of the law who beg their sons and daughters not to follow them because when the going got tough, Tim Ryan threw them under the bus. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to throw this guy out, not give him a promotion. We got the great J.R. Majewski up here in the front, one of our congressional candidates. You know what? The other thing that I just want to talk about before I lead us into the main event here is Tim Ryan is a guy who says that he stands for the workers of this state and for the workers of Youngstown. Now, you guys know him better than anybody. So those boos mean something. Trust me, they do. I've talked to a lot of you, and I know exactly how much he has stabbed you all in the back. But there are a lot of issues. But most recently, there was something that happened in this country that required courage and it required leadership. And that was when Joe Biden and Tim Ryan said that in order to work, in order to earn a living, in order to put bread on the dinner table of your children, you had to get Big Pharma's vaccine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was disgusting and it was wrong. I don't care what your politics, I don't care what your issues. Nobody should have to put something in their body on a condition of providing for their own children. But where, ladies and gentlemen, where was Tim Ryan when workers were begging the government to stop enforcing this vaccine? Where was Tim Ryan when the workers of Youngstown were saying, don't make us get this shot in order to provide for our families? Tim Ryan was kissing up to Nancy Pelosi and doing what he always does, bending the knee to the Washington Democrats, not standing up for the people in Youngstown, Ohio. We got to change that. And ladies and gentlemen, we will. We are going to take back the Senate. We are going to take back the Congress. We are going to start changing the problems in this country.
We shall see. We shall see.
Because like I said, we do not have to live like this. We do not have to let the Chinese steal our manufacturing base. We do not have to let the pharmaceutical industry force a product on us in order for us to get a job. We do not have to throw open the southern border, killing tens of thousands of Ohioans with the poison that the cartels are bringing across. We can go in a different direction. And ladies and gentlemen, come this November, thanks to all of you, we will. God bless you. Now, thank you.
Some big boys in that audience. Some big old Midwestern boys.
I love you all, and I'm so grateful for you being here, and I'm grateful for everything you're doing for our campaign. But the reason I talk about that vaccine mandate is because one of the few leaders in this country who stood against those vaccine mandates and wouldn't let that mandate prevent his citizens from earning a living was our next guest, Governor Ron DeSantis.
I feel like I'm going to get hit for some kind of showing the music.
Fantastic job throughout this crisis. It has terrified the left.
4 bills were signed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in just a month's time.
Ron DeSantis has done a fantastic job, and the liberals and the leftist
All right,
media
JD Vance.
are now going to start attacking him like crazy.
I know corporate media thinks that they can just run over people.
I love that he says the word corporate media. I mean, we're all really going to let the basic rights disappear? Yeah. Well, I honestly, that was like one of the most things that dumbfounded me at the beginning of the pandemic, of how many people were just so willing to do whatever means necessary, whatever the government told them to do. I couldn't believe how many people were just ready to lay down. Even people that I know that are like outspoken libertarians. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But here we go. Ron DeSantis is coming up with the neon letters. He's throwing out stuff. What is he throwing out? He's running for president one day. You can tell.
It's wonderful to be back in Youngstown. Now, as Florida governor, I kind of have to be here because some of you will be residents of Florida at some point. And if you know anything about our state, you don't have to look very far to find somebody from Ohio, including my favorite, our wonderful First Lady of Florida, my wife, Casey. Troy, Ohio. And my mother is from Youngstown, and she's here. Where is she? Right there.
Fire meter.
And my father is from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, but went to Youngstown State. And I have my uncle, Father Phil, who's here. Many of you know. Pony shoulder. And I have my aunt, Sister Regina, so all right here in Northeast Ohio.
I'll have a cheeseburger.
It is important that the people of Ohio send J.D. Vance to the U.S. Senate this year. Yes, Republicans need to take back the majority, and I think we will. But just as important of just having the majority, we need people that are going to be willing to go up there and do something with the majority. Stop talking and actually get something done.
Imagine.
And I think JD is somebody that's going to be a leader and not just be a follower. And we need that in that swamp now more than ever. So let's do our part and let's get him there. And at the end of the day, a lot of what I think we need across the board and what I've tried to do in Florida is people will run for office, they'll promise this, they'll say these things, and then they usually don't deliver. And a lot of that's just a lack of leadership. We need leadership now more than ever. And in Florida, that's what we've tried to provide. When I got elected governor, I took office and I told myself, I am not doing any polls to try to figure out what the right thing to do is. I'm going to lead based off conviction. I'm going to lead based off doing what's right. And
Fire meter.
the thing about it is, I could poll this room on something, but all that tells me is kind of a static response. It doesn't tell me really what I need to know. It's not important to just take a poll. The important thing is, if you have the vision, if you set out a vision, you execute that vision and you deliver results, then tell me what the poll would say. People will respond if you show leadership. So we decided to get in front of issues and not be paralyzed worrying about whatever the polls would say, and certainly not worrying about what the media would say. The other thing we've done, I think more Republicans need to do, don't just sit back and let the left eat your lunch. Go on offense. Take advantage of issues. Raise important issues. Get out in front of things and keep the other side on their toes, and that's what we've done time and time again. A lot of these issues, Florida's the first one that's taken it on, whether it was banning some of the vax mandates, whether it's now doing the ESG, which we're fighting because they really want to hurt our economy. So it's important to do that. And the result has been we've led on issue after issue since I've been governor. They just had the jobs numbers yesterday. The state of Florida alone added over 70,000 private sector jobs.
I'll have what she's having.
And that's with Biden inflation hurting us. That's with energy hurting us. That's with all the regulations hurting us. And we're still managing to punch through on that. Part of the reason we're able to do it is because we don't have a state income tax. That's a great thing about the state of Florida. And we never will as long as I have anything to say about it. But here is the issue that I think shows you who can govern good and who can't. The state of Florida's budget for the fiscal year that just ended July 1st was $102 billion. Well, what does that mean? What is that compared? New York State has 3 million fewer people than we do in Florida. Their budget is over twice the size of our budget. And yet, we have better services, better performing K through 12 schools, much better roads, and the #1 performing public university system in the country. And we do all that, of course, with no income tax. And that $102 billion budget, we ended up yielding a $22 billion surplus, the largest in the history of the state of Florida. So, and I can tell you, none of that would have been possible if we had let our state over the last 2 years descend into some type of Faucian dystopia where people's freedoms were curtailed and their livelihoods were destroyed. No, you had people like Fauci and these other governors that wanted to keep locking people down. In Florida, we wanted to lift people up. We protected freedoms, we protected jobs and businesses, made sure kids could be in school in person without having to wear a mask 8 hours a day. And the result has been we've been successful economically. People are happier in Florida. I would have people come from these lockdown jurisdictions over the last 2 years.
Can we clone Ron? I wish.
And if you came from one of those places and you landed in Florida, they'd tell you it was almost like being in a different country. It was like flying in, the difference between East Berlin and West Berlin. We were America's West Berlin for a lot of people throughout this country.
It's true. Even I wanted a vacation in Florida when I was locked down.
And the interesting thing is, some of the people who would come down were actually politicians who would lock their own people down.
Exactly.
Governors, mayors, hosts on CNN, they would criticize Florida. They said, you can't do that. They would impose all these different restrictions. And the first chance they got, where would they go? They come down to our state, down in the state of Florida. You'd see them at the Fort Lauderdale Yacht Club or something, sitting there, no mask, just having the time of their life. When even your worst critics are deciding to come down to visit your state, you must be doing something right.
I'll have what she's having.
You know, I was just in Pennsylvania. We were helping the governor candidate over there. And Philadelphia is forcing the students to wear masks
Exactly.
yet again
A compliance society.
for 8 hours a day. And they said Pittsburgh hasn't decided what they're going to do with that. And let's just be clear, there's no scientific basis to muzzle these young students for 8 hours a day. It should not happen. Just as the same, there's no scientific basis to impose things like vaccine passports, which is why we ban them in the state of Florida. You can't have a successful economy if people have to cough up medical papers just to have a beer somewhere or to go eat chicken wings. And so we banned that very early on to the beginning of 2021. And guess what happened? Florida in 2021 set a record for domestic tourism. And of the overall foreign tourism into the United States, almost 45% of all foreign tourism in 2021 was to the state of Florida.
I get it, Blake. Hilarious. Hey, does your mom know you have brainworms?
People want to be free. They want to be able to make their own decisions. And JD mentioned this, but I think one of the most outrageous uses of power that we've seen from both the federal government and some other states has been using power to deny people the opportunity to earn a living based on a COVID shot. And the thing about it is we've known for a long time, you get a shot or you don't, that's your choice, but you're still going to get infected anyways. People are getting infected. It is not as if you're going to be protected from that. You have these people who will get infected, they'll go to Twitter or something and they'll post, I have tested positive for COVID-19. I am so happy that I've taken 4 booster shots and all this. And I'm thinking to myself,
close. I'm thankful
if
for the
I
vaccine.
came down with measles, I wouldn't thank the MMR vaccine. I'd be upset that it didn't work. So there's no basis to force this on anybody. That's your choice. And in the state of Florida, we acted not just against Biden, but against even some of the big corporations that wanted to do it. And our policy in Florida is very simple. No Floridian has to choose between a job they need and a shot they don't want. They are protected and they can earn a living. And that's the right thing to do. And even the CDC now is admitting no reason to treat vax or unvaxxed any differently. Well, guess what that means? Every single mandate must be removed that the federal government's doing, that any of these states, it's wrong. And if anybody was forced into doing this and ended up with an adverse reaction, they should be able to sue over that. So that was the fact that we were rational, the fact that we protected people's liberties has been a big reason why Florida has led the nation in net in-migration over the last couple years. But another reason that's been really important to a lot of families in particular, Florida is a law and order state. We never bought into this idea that you attack law enforcement. When you started to see the rioting happen 2 years ago over the summer, I called up the National Guard immediately in Florida. We weren't going to let it happen there. We had law enforcement ready. And you've seen what they've done in some of these places around the country.
Blake, tell me you have no idea what's going on in the world without telling me you have no idea what's going on in the world. I appreciate all your comments, Blake. But you clearly are closed-minded and don't actually read. So I'm glad you're here, though.
They slashed the police.
And we accept gays just like you here. So thanks for being here, Blake.
Budgets, and what ends up happening? You have huge increases in crime. You also have big increases in crime because you've had a wave of prosecutors elected, usually with the financial assistance of people like George Soros. And they say,
oh God, why does Florida scare the shit out of you? Because you live in Texas. What are you scared of in Florida? The people? The gators? What is it, Jew?
They're not going to prosecute certain crimes. So you can go in San Francisco under their old prosecutor.
Also, Jew Bean, just so you know, YouTube censors my chat for me. So if you put curse words in, not everyone's going to see it, but I'll see it. You're watching Turning Point unironically and telling me I don't know. Okay. The fascists. Okay, God. Yeah, there you go. All right. You're an idiot. Bye. God.
As long as you steal less than $1,000, they don't prosecute. I've talked to somebody from San Francisco. They got their house broken in. Prosecutor wouldn't prosecute the case. And so you see all this lawlessness that's happened, and that's why some of these used to be great American cities are now like third world countries. Nobody wants to be there. You have homeless everywhere, you have drug addicts everywhere, and you have the criminals.
The Southerners in Florida are kind of different is all. Yeah, they are kind of different, for sure. Florida is its own entity. In a sense, the fascists, yeah, Giovanni, I just got rid of that guy. It's just like, I will entertain people with different views all they want, but as soon as they start like just being aggressive, saying he's doing my dad and stuff like that, it's just like, I'm not gonna just keep you around. You can be a douchebag all you want in my chat, but if you are just gonna keep going and just trying to be a troll, I'm just gonna get rid of you. I'm not going to give you the attention you feel like you deserve, and I'm not going to continue just to play games. And also, I'm going to treat you like how I would treat you in real life. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm just going to turn around and walk away because I don't have to listen to your nonsense. If you don't like Ron DeSantis, if you don't like TPUSA, I'm totally okay with that. I don't care. Like, I don't like everything TPUSA. I'm not a huge Charlie Kirk fan, and that's okay. We can have different opinions. We can have different thoughts, and I welcome that. But if you start speaking nonsense, if you start talking about having sex with my dad, you start talking about like all this stupid crap, calling people fascists who aren't fascists. The minute you start calling people at TPUSA or Ron DeSantis fascists is the minute I know you're just Antifa. So I'm just going to get rid of you. That's how it goes. And those people, you can't argue with them. You can't show them a point. They're just here to cause destruction, and that's all they care about. So I don't play that game with those people, and that's all it is. So, but again, I'm not triggered by him. I don't care. I'm just gonna block him because he's a douche. That's it. So see you later, Blake. Have a nice life.
Running the asylum. Exactly. So it's terrible policy. And in Florida, we said that's not going to fly here. So not only did we not let the rioting take place, we actually passed legislation prohibiting local governments from defunding the police. We're not going to let it happen. We also made sure that we're going to actually hold people accountable. In places like Portland, they will riot. They'll get arrested, they take their mugshot, and then they put them right back on the street to do it all over again. So we signed legislation in Florida saying if you riot, if you loot, if you engage in mob violence, you're not going to get a slap on the wrist. You're getting the inside of a jail cell. We're holding you accountable. And when we had a prosecutor in part of Florida that was supported by Soros that said he was only going to enforce certain laws and was not going to enforce others, we took action by removing him from office.
Just like I removed Blake from my chat.
We're not going to let a prosecutor be a law unto himself. And I think J.D. Vance is spot on. You know, the rule of law, obviously keeping our community safe, but rule of law also means that you have secure over the borders of your country. And if you look at what Biden's done, he came into office and he immediately reversed all of Donald Trump's policies at the border. This is intentional, what he is doing. They knew what would happen, and this is what they chose to do. And the fact that now, after everything that's coming across the border, millions of people illegally, all this drugs, human trafficking, sex trafficking, all this stuff, they're not reversing course. We now have the leading cause of death for people in the United States age 18 to 45 is overdose from fentanyl. All of it, 90+%, coming across the southern border. He doesn't care about our communities. He's perfectly happy to see them being overrun with drugs and criminal aliens and all these other things. And you notice...
I mean, you would think that Biden would actually take heart to some of those issues, especially drug overdoses and stuff, considering his son is an addict. You would think that that would affect him, and then it would be like his number one issue to stomp out what's going on the border as far as drugs being smuggled in. But no, he's just going to continue to play the politic at its politics games at its finest. That's all these people care about. It's just pointing the finger. That's not my problem. It's your problem. It's not you. It's me. It's just so ridiculous. You would think that he would stomp it out, and his son would be like a poster child for how, like, going to rehab, going to counseling to come out of this kind of stuff. But no, it's just like, it just shows you the kind of person he really is deep down inside, Joe Biden. Like, it really does. And if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. If you think that he actually cares, just look at his son and then look at the border. That should be enough for you.
What do places who are sanctuary jurisdictions like New York and D.C., they don't like it when red states send the illegals to their communities. So that issue alone in your Senate race between the Democrat and J.D. Vance is as clear as day. You have an open borders, Joe Biden supporting Democrat, versus somebody that's going to be serious about this problem. And it needs to be solved. I'm sick of hearing about it and talking about it and not seeing it solved.
Joe Biden is a racist. Exactly. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
That's clear as day. Clear as day. Dude loves the KKK.
Once and for all, and you got to have people in the Congress who are going to be willing to support a wall and support everything that we need to do. And I also think JD has been really strong and on point on recognizing the threat posed to our communities and our country by the Chinese Communist Party. And if you look at what's happened over the last generation, a lot of the ruling elites, and he's right, in both parties, Republicans and Democrats, they thought good policy was to empower China, grant them most favored nation trade status, put them in the World Trade Organization, and that if you traded more with them, if you let them have all this manufacturing and build all this stuff, then they would become this great, cuddly democracy. Well, that has totally failed. President Xi is as vicious as anybody they've had since Mao Zedong.
I was a Democrat, but damn, they're all Klansmen. Yeah. I'm glad you're here, Jew Bean, because I hope my channel brings in a multitude of people from different spectrums of the aisle, from the right to libertarians to moderate to slightly Democrat, maybe old school Democrat. Like, I want to engage with everyone. I don't want to be an echo chamber completely. I want people in my chat to have different opinions than me, unlike that last guy who was just being a total douche. I really didn't know, bro. Yeah, well, that's awesome that you came to know that, because it's crazy the connection of the KKK and Democratic Party. It's also crazy that KKK and the FBI go into that rabbit hole.
Done to our country. They've taken a lot of the stuff we used to make and shipped it, not just overseas, but to a country that's hostile to us. When COVID first really hit and everyone was scrambling for all these medical supplies, how much of it was made in China? Basically 100% was made in China. So it's not good for our economy to be giving China this treatment, which Biden has done his whole career. It's also not good for our national security. So if you send J.D. Vance to the U.S. Senate, he's going to be tough on the Chinese Communist Party. And we're working on it too in the state of Florida. We've already signed legislation banning things like Confucius Institutes at our universities. We're very mindful of them trying to infiltrate our economy. We're going to be doing legislation to block them from purchasing land in our state.
I thought the Democrats were for the people. I'm black, so I had to be a Democrat. I thought, man. Well, I love that you kind of open up your mind, change your mind, Bean. Like, that is awesome. My stepmom's black, and she has voted Democrat her whole life and thinks I'm a white supremacist. Like, she thinks I'm like part of the craziest stuff. And like, my best friend growing up was black, and he always voted Democrat his whole life. I remember that when Obama was running, he was just like, well, I have to vote for him because he's black and he's a Democrat. And I was like, those are the reasons you're voting for him? He's like, yeah. And like, the minute I saw that, I just saw how indoctrination of like, and groupthink is just so bad for all of us as Americans, all of us as individuals. It's like, you look this way, you fit into this demographic, you have to vote this way. And then like the minute you just have that, you shut your brain off. And then when things are going bad around you, like we constantly do videos on this channel of like how the inner cities are just being just like destruction is just going on, and murders all the time, and it's never reported, and it's never a breaking story. You know, we just had somebody in Philadelphia shelling out 100 rounds in their community. I do on Monday as much as I can how many people were shot in Chicago every weekend. Again, I worked in the inner cities in Chicago, so I have a heart and a passion for those people. And so like, when I see that going on and then they continue to vote the same way, it just breaks my heart because they are being lied to constantly, and they're voting for things they don't even realize, and it just makes me so angry. And the Democrats were the ones who wanted to keep slavery. Exactly, because why wouldn't they? They love power. They love cheap labor. It makes sense. Even the people like the founder of capitalism hated slavery. People try to think slavery has something to do with capitalism. It doesn't. Honestly, I have no idea. Until recently, the whole communist Marxist infiltration. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I have my master's degree and I've been through education a lot. And so you kind of I've seen how it's been infiltrated slowly over and over again. Being a contrarian for the sake is weird though. Anything for the sake of sake is weird. You must know why.
And we need other states to follow that as well. We've also been very proud in Florida of leading the nation in election integrity. And if you remember, our state had a lot of interesting elections over the years. Didn't always do that great of a job. We came in and cleaned house in South Florida when I was governor. We did 2020.
I was just thinking like the whole contrarian thing. Like I don't just oppose the populist thing. I don't if that's what you mean, but I try to welcome all ideas. But yeah, I would never say don't ever be something for the sake of something. Know why you are something.
Counted 11
know why you believe something.
million votes by midnight on election night. It's taken some of these other places days and weeks to count the votes. I think it takes New York over a month to count the votes on an election. What's going on during that month period? I wonder what's happening. So we're proud that we did that, and people actually looked in 2020 said, why can't more states be like Florida? Because they didn't used to say that about Florida at all, I can tell you that. But I also knew we were far from where we needed to be. So since 2020, we've signed legislation in Florida making ballot harvesting a felony offense. We've also signed legislation banning the use of Zuckerbucks in elections. Zuckerberg poured $400 million into these nonprofit, quote-unquote, nonprofit groups, and they would give all this money to local election offices. They'd bring in operatives, and they would basically take over the machinery of the actual election itself. So they ballot harvested. They went out and targeted certain voters based on partisan, and this is like your local election office, and it was corrupt as hell that was allowed to happen, and I think every state needs to follow Florida's lead and ban the use of Zuckerbucks.
I'll have what she's having.
But there may not be any issue where Florida has led with more purpose and conviction than on the issue that, and we've drawn a very clear line in the sand, that our school system should be about educating kids, not indoctrinating kids. We have banned the use of CRT in our K through 12 schools. We're not teaching kids to hate the United States or to hate each other based on race. That is unacceptable, and it's got no place in our school system. Instead, we're going to teach kids actual American civics, actual American history. We want everybody to have a good foundation when they go out in the world to understand what it means to be an American. We need them to understand that our rights come from God, not from the government.
I'll have what she's having.
We need them to understand about our Constitution and the principles in our Declaration of Independence and how those principles have been applied all through the years, all the way up through the present, and why so many people have been willing to fight and die for our country. And part of the reason that you show them what that means, we believe in Florida, is to compare American ideas and the American system with other types of governments. And so I have signed legislation dedicating every November 7th to a day to honor the victims of communism. Over 100 million people killed in the 20th century alone by communist regimes. And at day in school, all students are going to get instructed in the horrors and the evils of communism and the ideology. We also believe in Florida that parents have rights when it comes to the school system, that parents have a fundamental role to direct the education and upbringing of their kids. And part of that is, and look, my wife and I are sensitive about these things. We have a 5, a 4, and a 2-year-old at home. So we want to make sure that we can send them, and it's school, it's things like even just watching cartoons, just being kids without having some agenda shoved down their throat. And that means being able to go to elementary school and not have woke gender ideology injected in the curriculum. They should not be doing things like taking some 7-year-old boy and saying, and they are trying to do this in other states, saying, well, you may have been born a boy, but you may not really be, maybe you're a girl. That is inappropriate and that is wrong.
What's up, Oliver? I'm an African Australian. Looking outside, I don't consider the Democrat a left-wing party. Besides few hot-button cultural issues, policy-wise, both parties gaslight their voters. Yep, that's very true, Oliver. I'm glad you're here. That's why I lean a little bit towards Libertarian more, because I've seen how the Republicans will gaslight their voters as well. They'll get them riled up, and then when they get into power, they do absolutely nothing. That's why so many of these problems didn't happen when they were in the majority, and now we're back to ground zero. Now, I would push back and say, do not try to generalize everyone in the Republican Party the same way you shouldn't generalize everyone in the Democratic Party. Treat each individual as individualistic and as their own opinions and their way that they rule and the way that they pass laws, or if they vote for things and stuff like that. I would try to pick people you like or pick people you don't like and stuff like that, as opposed to just like generalities. But in the generality, if we're going to do generalities, they have gaslit their voters a lot as well. Very true. But that's why you got to hold them accountable. And that's why you can't keep voting for people based on the R or a D in front of their name. Like, we have to get past this idea of if you're a Republican equals good, Democrat equals bad. No, we have to look at these people as individual and what do they bring to the table. This is why people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham continue to get voted in, even though they're absolute trash. It's because people are scared of the other people on the aisle, but they're also just used to just voting, and they're not even thinking about the issues. They're just like, I align with Republicans, so I'm just going to vote Republican as opposed to figuring out which candidate best suits me. That's not inalienable rights.
And because we took action, that is illegal to do in the state of Florida. Now, not everyone liked when we did that. Parents in Florida really liked it. Regardless of party, they really liked it because they know it's inappropriate. But the media didn't like it. And we had a big company that you may have heard of that's got a little bit of a footprint in Central Florida that had a problem with it.
Disney.
But you know, I took an oath to support and defend the people of the state of Florida, not to subcontract out my leadership to the Walt Disney Company. So when people were talking about, oh, they're so powerful, the governor's not going to be able to sustain, he's going to have to veto the bill because of how powerful, all I said was, go ahead and make my day. I am not moving an inch. Here I stand. And you know, the thing about it is, these woke companies, like, they're getting themselves in a lot of trouble by trying to get involved in these issues. They're free to do it, but it's not the best interest of their shareholders or employees, I can tell you that. But what Disney decided to do was say, not just that they opposed the bill, after we signed the bill, they said it was going to be their mission to see our Parents' Rights Bill repealed in the state of Florida. And I thought to myself, okay, so you're going to come after our parents and our kids. And again, you have the right to do that, but you do not have the right to force me to subsidize that or force my taxpayers to subsidize that. And the fact is, Disney has gotten more subsidies from the state of Florida since the 1960s than any company in the history of our state. And so what we said was, okay, if that's your values, that you want 6-year-olds to have gender ideology in the schools, we disagree with that. We don't think that that's healthy for our society. And you're free to do that, but you're not going to have your own government. You're not going to be exempt from laws, and you're going to pay your fair share of taxes. So we made that happen. And look, trying to do with these young kids and trying to confuse them and act like they were born in a wrong body or something is toxic for our society. It will.
Brendan, let's find another bird then.
Tear families apart to have a school system, quote, changing the gender of a young kid against the parents' consent or knowledge. We've banned that in Florida too. And so we just got to understand that this is just wrong. And here's what we're now having to do in the state of Florida is they want to do things and they call it gender affirming care. But it's not counseling, it's not anything like that. They will actually take these very young kids, they will give them puberty blockers, which are very problematic, and they will actually do operations to take off their private parts. That is wrong, and we have taken action against it in Florida, and it's not allowed anymore. And you know what? The doctors that are doing that should be able to be sued because there's going to be a lot of problems in the years to come. And, you know, we also had to just say, so my wife, we have a 5, 4, and 2. We have girl, boy, girl. So I think about these things from a dad's perspective. And one of the things that we've seen in the last few years is taking away opportunities for women to compete in athletics by letting biological men win these championships. You have a swimmer who does 3 years on the men's swim team in college and then switches to fight to do the women's and, quote, wins the championship. How is that fair to all these women athletes who've trained and worked very hard? Maybe someone should have had a championship. Maybe someone just should have qualified to be able to participate. You're taking away opportunities for people. And so in the state of Florida, we signed legislation to protect the integrity and fairness of women's sports. We're not going to let men compete. But the question is like, why is this happening? I mean, if we were all sitting here even 10 years ago, no one would have thought that you would have some 6'3" swimmer who had been on the men's team get the NCAA championship for women. Like, that would have just been totally something we didn't think could happen. You would have never had the gender ideology in the schools. You would have never had any of this. So why is this happening? It's all based on this mind virus called woke ideology. That is what's infecting all these different institutions. It is in academia, it's in K-12 education, it's in the bureaucracy, it's in
It's actually called like queer identity theory, but sure.
Corporate America and big
Close.
tech. And so I think that we need people in Florida, Ohio, all across the country to say, we are not going to let this woke mind virus run over our institutions. We will fight woke in the classroom. We will fight woke in businesses. We will fight.
Whoa. This is like Churchill. We will fight in the trenches. We will fight in the
woke in government agencies. We're not going to surrender to woke. We are going to stand and we're going to keep our country free.
We will fight woke in the yard. We will fight woke in our backyards.
Oh,
And
he's having his Churchill moment.
Under my leadership, the state of Florida is where woke goes to die. So you guys have this Senate election coming up, and it's just
it's crazy. It's
so
pure
interesting
evil
to me. You look at Biden, right? And yeah. I mean, honestly, just as an American, it's sad to watch. You think about like other presidents we've had. If you think like, oh, John Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. You think about President Reagan, he would say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. When you think of Biden, you think of him staring into that teleprompter like deer in a headlights.
You really think that that's the worst of it? The globalists have their plan. They want to kill people. Are you talking about Bill Gates?
End of quote. Repeat the line. But you know, he ran for office saying he was going to be a uniter for this country.
Yeah, the globalists are a problem, man. Fix it. They're a huge problem, especially, I don't know if you've seen where the Saudis are now buying into BlackRock. So, and then all the meetings that's going on with the alignments of Russia, Turkey, and Iran and China. So there are some real big things coming down, especially with like our dollar potentially, which has always been on the way to collapse, but it just seems like it's almost inevitable as we continue to just watch it out. The real bird is the Constitution. It's not meant to be altered. We need to follow the Constitution. I wish, Brendan, I wish. It doesn't seem like these politicians care about the Constitution. In fact, I'm sure they've never even read it. No, I mean Klaus Schwab, the big reset. Yeah, Klaus Schwab, ESG, all that is a huge problem. Real stuff, man. They want us to eat bugs, and you can't eat bugs. They have something in them that gives you cancer. I feel like they want you to eat bugs. I don't know if I would go down the cancer. I assume that the protein synthesis isn't as strong as meat, and it makes you weaker. But it's just all control. They all want control, and that's all they care about. So if they can control any aspect of your life and then corner the market and then make it to where you only buy your food from one source, that's why Bill Gates is continuing to buy up all the farmlands, then they can be more profitable. Then they can make more money. That's all it is. Do you know of Wake Up America on YouTube? Yes.
And he has been the most divisive president of my lifetime. He's been.
They're on Twitch? Yes. I'm pretty sure I know what Wake Up America is. I don't go on Twitch too much because it's all full of socialists. It's just like a weird socialist channel with a bunch of 13-year-old boys and girls who are just trying to be as crazy as possible. And I don't know why so many people watch some of those shows on Twitch because they're just kind of garbage and they don't really do anything fun. Yeah, Chrysler's going to make electric muscle cars now. I saw that. The electric muscle car is like an oxymoron. It's just like every electric car is essentially a muscle car because of how much power it has, but it's not a muscle car. It's so stupid.
Been more divisive, and I didn't think this was even than Obama.
You're 3 minutes behind. Yeah, you're 3 minutes behind. You're a couple minutes behind because I am live streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Rumble at the same time. So it's being it's being shot out everywhere at the same time. So it's a little slow. Look at Salty Clarker's last video. Some of the guy talking. Okay, I will.
In terms of what he's doing, I mean, when you're trying to fire
Dude, the Churchill stuff was incredible.
people from their jobs because of a COVID shot, when you're leaving our Army and Marines hanging in Afghanistan, when you're floundering.
Bill Gates didn't get Texas, but the Chinese have a lot of property in Texas, so don't forget that.
On the world stage, that's not uniting the country. People are upset about what's going on. He comes in and reverses the border policy. He spends trillions and trillions of dollars that we don't have, and he was warned, not just by people like me, who he's not going to listen to, but economists who work for people like Obama and Bill Clinton. If you do this, they told him, you are going to spark a massive inflation. And now here we are. How is it for people on fixed incomes to see the price of everything? And it's not just 8%. Food and all this other stuff's gone up way more than that. And so this is decimating people's family budgets, and he is the one that sparked this. He declared war on American energy. I think we should be producing our own energy here.
Energy. It's the reason for high inflation, the reason for recession. If we could just be energy independent again and make cheap energy for everyone, we could be the powerhouse of the world. But no, we want to cripple our energy sectors in order for our American people just to slowly get poorer and poorer, as China just recently just upped their coal game. And so everywhere in the world doesn't care about environmental and the ESG movement. You're going to see more and more countries get off ESG, get off the alignment with us in our dollar because of how fascist a lot of our policies are for people in the world. They're like, hey, you need to take our dollar, and also you need to be a part of this ESG movement because it's better for the world. And if you don't, and some of these countries can't afford all that crap. I'm not getting the shot of high blood pressure insurance. Dude, yeah. Talk to your doctor about that, man.
You know, he talks about like, oh, you know, you can't
but I never got it.
Do oil and gas, well, whatever. He'll go get it from Saudi Arabia or Venezuela. I guess that's not global warming, but U.S. energy is. So I don't know how that works. But he says, oh, you can't do oil and gas. He wants windmills and he wants solar. And let me tell you, I'm from the Sunshine State. We have a lot of solar, and it's fine to have as a compliment. But if I have a hurricane go through the state of Florida and we need to get the lights back on, I want our utilities to use oil and gas because that's how the lights are going to get back on. Just the reality. But he's waged war on this. It's obviously led to big spikes. They're actually saying how great it is, how low the prices are just because they've been down from where they were a month and a half ago. They're still some of the highest prices we've ever seen. And unfortunately, I think it is going to go back up because the supply issue hasn't been solved. It's basically demand went down because it was pinching so many people. So you're going to see that go back up. That's going to be very problematic. So his policies have inflicted a lot of pain on the American people. And being a leader is taking on issues and not just continuing to pass the buck. And, you know, he has really been, I think, you know, almost a subsidiary to people like Pelosi with her radical agenda in the House. I think the one thing I'll say about Pelosi, she is the absolute best advertisement on the need for term limits for members of Congress.
Dude, I wish that was a thing.
But, you know, so JD is running against a guy who's in the Congress, your congressman here, who votes with Pelosi and votes with Biden 100% of the time. You can't find one thing to disagree on, and I think it's if she says...
They just want electric cars so they can control us and shut the car off, and they want us to have autopilot. Yeah, imagine you'll be so easily pulled over by the police if you have an electric car. They'll just have one of those things that they can shoot in your vehicle to shut it down. What country overseas? I think the Netherlands and New Zealand, they're trying to stop the farmers. Yep. Yeah, and they're doing it here too, as you're seeing more farmers get rid of their stock. I'm 3 minutes behind because I paused. Okay. That makes more sense. Okay, you do that. You got it. Brennan
says vote for it, or he says vote for it, then he votes for it. That's not being an independent voice for the people of Ohio. That's just being a partisan hack who's following a San Francisco leftist and a flailing president. So JD will be much different, and I think it's important. And this most recent piece of legislation that they did.
We should be producing everything here. We should be producing our energy and our food, and we should be making our drugs here. Pharmaceuticals, that is. And other drugs. Let's not pretend like alcohol and marijuana are drugs. So.
Calling it the Inflation Reduction Act, they are insulting the intelligence of everybody in this room.
No, it's Orwellian.
They think we're all stupid enough to believe that this is going to reduce inflation. What it did do is it mobilized 87,000 new IRS agents. They are going to be after there's not enough billionaires to use all that for. And oh, by the way, the billionaires have accountants and lawyers, and they're going through and really taking advantage of loopholes Congress itself put in. No, they're going to go after people who can't afford the accountants and the lawyers. The handyman, the restaurant owner, the sole proprietor, people.
Not only that, we did a whole debunking a couple days ago about how actually the middle class is going to make up for $20 billion more for the IRS due to the Inflation Reduction Act, due to the things that are being passed. So this idea that they're only going after the rich is a lie. And this is coming out of a bipartisan congressional budget office. This isn't just some Joe Schmo on the street making up crap. This is from that office. They said the middle class is going to have taxes increase. So they are lying to you. But are you surprised that politicians would lie to you with a smile on their face? Because I'm not.
People who are driving an Uber, you name it, and the audit's enough to crush these people. And so that's what they're going to do. They're going to mobilize that power to go after people they don't like. I think every member of Congress that voted for this bill should have to face mandatory audit from the IRS every year.
Fix it. At this point, I want any politician who puts America first. And, an American people first. Speaking of American first, we're getting ready to send another $800 million to Ukraine. $800 million. What number are we up to? Where does this money go? I don't know. Does it all go to Lockheed Martin? Who knows? We don't have any accountability in our politics today. It's just whatever feels good, do it. That's our politics. And if you're against whatever feels good in that moment, well, you're a fascist.
So here's why I think it's important that JD win and that we win elections all across the country. And in Florida, we're going to do our part to really start off this wave on November 8th. We think we can do very well, not just with me, but all across the state, including things like school board, which are really important. And we're getting involved in that because education's so important. But this is important because if you look at what the left has done, they're much more militant than they were even 10 or 15 years ago. Think about what they wanted to do after 2020. If they just had a couple more senators, they would have packed the U.S. Supreme Court. They would have abolished the Electoral College. They would have made D.C. a state, so they get 2 extra Democrat senators for life. And they would have federalized election procedure and overruled all election integrity measures like voter ID. They're basically federalizing ballot fraud. So that's what they wanted to do. Now, I disagree with that. I'm sure most of you disagree with that. But no one could possibly dispute that that is not an agenda that is speaking to the desires of the average American family. They're not huddled over their dinner table saying, oh man, if we could just abolish voter ID, this country would be great.
Brown waves
no,
of poo.
They're concerned about food prices, gas prices,
it's been a minute,
crime,
man.
immigration, all these important issues that Biden and his ilk have ignored. No, they're doing that because they want to render the conservative half of the country second-class citizens. And if you think about how they're handling these agencies, the difference between when Reagan came on board, 1980, he used to say the most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Those
and,
are the worst words.
He was critiquing accurately kind of liberalism run amok. They would put
I have a single
power
job
in these
too, find it.
bureaucracies on a far distant capital. They would promulgate all these rules that didn't make any sense, and it basically paralyzed the economy, held us back and all that. And he was right on that.
They
and
need
we still
to
see that today. But I think the difference between today
and read Pet
then
Sematary
is a lot of these federal agencies have been weaponized to basically represent one faction of the country against everybody else. And you know, when this Mar-a-Lago search warrant happened, the media would say, like, for guys like me who say, because I've seen a lot of abuse of power with DOJ, FBI over the last 6 or 7 years, they'd say nobody is above the law. And that's true, but you know what? Nobody's below the law either. And when you take agencies that tried to overturn the 2016 election by concocting a Russia collusion hoax, they tried to frame Donald Trump for something he didn't do. And they didn't have any evidence for it, and yet they did it, and they leaked it to the media, and this was a circus for 2 years. So they've abused their power. The IRS has abused its power by attacking conservative groups, back with Lois Lerner and all those other things. And so when you have that, when you have unequal application of the law, that's not the way a constitutional system is supposed to operate. You need people like J.D. Vance to get in there and clean it up. Let me tell you that. But we have to deal with that, and this is just something that's very difficult. You also have to deal with corporate media, which is basically all about concocting partisan narratives to help their party. They don't care about the facts. They don't report the facts. They just want to be able to get a story.
I love that he uses the word corporate media. That gets me so fired up. I love that.
That they can use to advance their agenda. Look at big tech, and I think JD will be very strong on this. They are censoring views they don't like. They censored the...
Too many leaks, too many concoctions. They need to flush the swamp like with X-Lax. I wish, man. I wish. Whoever is the president next go around, or if like Republicans win, if they don't do anything about the deep state, then it's just like you're useless at this point.
The Hunter Biden...
Like the fact that they went so far to overreach with the president that they've been doing it to the average everyday citizen constantly, and people have been screaming, especially in the Libertarian Party, have been talking about it, and now Republicans are kind of seeing the light a little bit more and more, which is just beautiful to see. Welcome. And now it's the time to take it over. Like, get it out. It's way too much spending. They have unlimited budgets, unlimited paycheck. It's like that 90s movie Blank Check. Like, they just think they can do whatever they want.
Story in 2020 because they were worried that would hurt Joe Biden. That's why they did it. They will censor as we get up coming to the election. They are basically the censorship arm of the left right now. So that's a huge obstacle for us as well. So it's not easy to be in this fight right now. We've got a lot of the odds against us in many respects.
I've only read the book.
And when you stand up and speak the truth to these people, they get very upset and they attack you. They smear you, and it's not just people like me. I'm a big boy. I get out of bed in the morning. I get criticized. That's fine. Goes with the territory. But it could be a parent going to a school board meeting, concerned about what's being taught in school or concerned that they're making their kid wear a mask. Merrick Garland has sent FBI agents to go to school board meetings. It is. I honestly never thought we'd have a worse attorney general than Eric Holder. But even Holder didn't send FBI to surveil parents. And so when you speak out, there's going to be blowback. But
Brave New World,
I
that's
think
on my
it's
list.
worth being in this fight. I think you need to have some courage. You got to show courage of your convictions. You got to be willing to stand up to things like cancel culture. Fight back against the media. Fight back against the Biden administration and these bureaucracies. And one of the reasons why, especially through COVID with me, we're going this other direction. Fauci's attacking me. Media's attacking me. All these people are attacking me. And, I had a lot of friends that are like, man, maybe you should do something different because I'm like, no. You know why?
That's when you know you're on point.
My job is to represent and to help the jobs of the people that I was elected to serve, not to look out for my own job, not to try to save my own hide. I've got to be willing to take the blows. I've got to be willing to take the errors. That's what leadership's about. And so I was totally fine, however it worked out for me, knowing that I was there to help them. But I'll tell you, one of the things that motivates me, and you saw my wife, I think we all concerned about our kids, and many of you probably have grandkids. What kind of country are we going to be leaving them into the future? Ronald Reagan said freedom's only one generation away from extinction. It's not passed along in the bloodstream. It's something that you got to fight for. It is not something that's just going to take care of itself. And one of my motivations for being in this fight is I was a member of Congress for a few years as well. I've recovered from the experience. I never drank the Kool-Aid, but we would fly up. You fly up every week or every couple weeks, and flying up from Florida, and there was one route that the plane would sometimes take going into Reagan Airport, and it would fly perfectly parallel with the National Mall. So if you looked out the left side of the plane, you saw...
I just randomly found you. What do I see? You're good for work, man. Keep spreading the... Hey, man, I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it. Tell your friends and family about the show. I go live almost every single day, and usually my show isn't like this. Usually I have like a ton of clips, ton of news, and it's a lot of interaction. Like, you're a part of this show as much as I'm a part of the show. This isn't like all about me. I want to engage with people like you. I created this show in order for us to have an area at which we can discuss with one another. I don't think there's a lot of shows like it online where I will actually talk with you in the chat and I engage with you, and then I have clips throughout the day. It's less about just sitting and listening to me talk and more about you engaging with me. And that's what this show's more about. And we have a lot of laughs. We make fun of 90% of everything that's going on in the world, just because if you're not laughing, you're crying at this point. So I appreciate that, man. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight.
Sweeping views of the Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, MLK, Washington Monument, all those things, and then eventually a majestic view of the U.S. Capitol building. And you'd have tourists gawking at it, and it really is a nice sight. You think about the values that make our country unique, and you're proud of that. You're like, man, that's what America's all about. But what I soon figured out after doing that flight a few times was the best view was not out the left side of the plane. The best.
Well, I did used to be a youth pastor, high hat, low hat, so I do from time to time have a little preaching in me. Can I get an amen?
You crazy as hell.
Hey!
View was out the right side of the plane, where you'd look across the Potomac River into Northern Virginia. And there were monuments in Northern Virginia, not as grand, not as profound, much more limited in size and very circumspect. Nice order of them, one after another, on kind of rolling hills at a place called Arlington National Cemetery. And it just occurs to me that you can have the best ideas in the world, you can have the best principles in the world, but unless you have people that are willing to stand up, put on that uniform, risk their lives, and indeed give their lives for those, then they're not going to amount to very much. So we owe it not just to ourselves, not just to our kids and grandkids, we owe it to those who have done so much and sacrificed so much to found this country, to defend this country all the way up until the present. And I think that's something worth fighting for. So buckle up, put on the full armor of God, take a stand against the left schemes, stand firm, stand your ground, don't back down. I'm on a mission to keep Florida free. Let's make sure Ohio remains free, and let's take our country back. Thank you all. God bless. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks so much.
I feel like I'm gonna get hit. Sorry, they're like playing a song. I'm like, I just know I'll get hit for like copyright. He's shooting all straight, and that's the truth. Wait, is that it? I assume so. You ain't gonna top. You ain't gonna top. Ron, look at that. Look at that ponytail. Woo! That's some party in the back right there. Woo! Oh, incredible. All right, wow. Speaking of incredible, I saw this story being pushed today. The Battle of the U.S. Mullet Championship. I mean, can I get an amen? I mean, can this get any better? Here, and can you guess which one is my son? Yeah, right there in the Vipers, looking like a stud. Look at that. This is out of La Jolla, Texas. I mean, look at that mullet. That thing is gorgeous. That looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter or something like that. I am the dog, the big bad dog. That one's okay. That one's like a far leftist girl with the shaved head on the side. Probably has tattoos on her arm. Not the best. That one's also pretty ugly. Okay, I don't know what it is about the Vipers. It's the Vipers that does it for me. I mean, look at the gorgeous. And this kid is born to party. I mean, look at that. This kid is a troublemaker. You need to be aware. Way too good of hair for that age. Okay, with the American flag on the side, I mean, come on. Vipers again, amazing. Callan, Austin, not a fan. Okay, boring. Beautiful. Something about like a chubby kid that really brings out the mullet for me. No. Yes, ginger all the way. No. Incredible. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. It means so much to me that you took time out of your day to hang out with me and party with me. We've been going for almost 2 hours now, so it means a lot to me. I'm going to go hit the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I might actually go live this weekend. I'm not totally sure. I might have some things to do. It depends on the news. You never know. But we go live usually 7:30 p.m. Eastern almost every day in the week. It means it's the shades. I know. The shades do it for me. I love that there's a U.S. Mullet Championship. I mean, can I get an amen? It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Tell your friends and family about the Derek O'Shea Show. I'll see you again as soon as possible. But you guys are the best. Seriously, appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for taking time texting in the chat with me. It means a lot to me. We are a growing channel. We are going to take this thing over because hopefully I want to have a show where you are as much of a part of it as I'm a part of it. Have a blessed weekend, brother. I appreciate you so much. Agenda 21, the Agenda 2030. What are they doing around the globe? Are making the move. Time to stand up. Exactly. The time to stand up is now. And not be afraid to speak up because that's what they want you. They want you to feel the fear. That's why I like that guy that was like trolling me earlier, calling me a fascist, all that crap. Like, the time to speak up is now. The time, like, do not let these people try to tell you who you are. You know who you are. You know that you're not a racist. You know that you're not a bigot, that you're a logically thinking individual, and you have your own individualistic ideas. Don't get caught in the spider web of everyone in the world because they will try to bring you down, man. And I'm just here to lift each other up and let you know that you're not alone. There are people like you and me in the world, and there's more than you think. And I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. I love you guys. Bye-bye.